Welcome to Property Banter by Pinnacle Buyers Agents. My name's Michael Ležaja, and today we're talking about the truth about off-market deals. Are they really better? So everyone's chasing off-market deals. It is the hype word. It's what every buyer's agent uses in their marketing, and everyone talks about off-market deals all the time being better. They have some kind of prestige or some kind of attraction by being promoted as an exclusive and as a good deal. But is that always the case? Now, I've been buying many deals off-market, even as early as the late 2000s, and I absolutely love off-market deals, but there are some that aren't worth buying. And if you're curious as to whether off-market deals are right for you, then this episode is a must-watch. Let's go. Now, what is an off-market deal? It's an interesting one. I'm going to get a little bit technical right now. But an off-market deal would technically be something that's not for sale. It would be you approaching an owner and getting and buying that property off them. That's off-market because it's not on-market. It means they're not selling. But off-market widely around our industry is the terminology used for a property that's just not advertised, right? So it would be one that the agent has on their books, so they might possibly have, and they're supposed to have the contract of sale, or in Queensland, what we call a Form 6, which means that they have the right to sell that property on behalf of the owner. That would technically be a quiet listing, right? But we call them off markets because it's just this general term that everyone utilizes, like a broad umbrella term, off market, but it's technically a quiet listing. It's not for sale on realestate.com. It's not on domain. It's not in the newspaper if you're an old dog, because not much is on newspapers these days. Most of it's online. But you know what I mean? It's not in traditional forms of marketing. So you have the realestate.com deals or the domain deals that are, very, very, they go out all across Australia and across the world so that everyone knows about them. But off-market deals aren't online. They're the ones that the agent still has, and they might have that, like I said, that Form 6. We call them Form 6 in Queensland, which is the contract that the agent has with the vendor to be able to sell the property, but they're just not advertising it. And I absolutely love those deals, right? Now, why would anyone want to go off market, or why would anyone want to do a quiet listing? Well, there's a bunch of reasons. So a lot of people might want to keep it quiet from family. They may have financial difficulties. They might want to keep it quiet from their neighbors. They might not want strangers going through their house. They might not even want to pay the $2,000 to $4,000 to $6,000 marketing or whatever the agent charges to have it listed on realestate.com. They might not want to pay that marketing. And they just want to obviously not pay the marketing and just sell it off market. And if the agent comes up with an offer, they'll sell it. And sometimes they'll accept lower than market rates because they don't know what market rate is. Because quite often when you're selling an off-market property, it doesn't go out to the masses. Let me say this. Agents will love me saying this, but you can't sell a secret. You need to pay for marketing to sell your property. So if you're selling, by the way, this is a good tip. Always pay your marketing and put your property on realestate.com and get it out to the masses, because the more people you can get there, the more chance there is of you finding that person that's going to pay top dollar. Flip side of the coin, me as a buyer's agent, as an investment buyer's agent, always looking for a good deal. I want to find that individual that hasn't tested the waters, that hasn't paid for the vendor paid advertising, that hasn't gone to realestate.com, that just goes to the agent, hey, if you get me an offer, I might consider selling. Well, that agent quite often will call me and I will lowball an offer. Now, not ridiculously lowball an offer, but I will put in an offer that would be advantageous to us. Now, why would I not? I mean, it's my job. I get paid by the buyer to get them a good deal. This is how I find good deals. Now, when there is less competition and it's not online and we're not going to auction or whatever it may be, it's quiet because no one knows about it yet. But yet I'm on the phone all the time talking to agents. I've got contacts that call me ahead of other buyers agents, ahead of other investors, and ahead of the general public. I get a shot at buying something without competition. Now, competition is great for the person selling. Competition is not great for us as buyers. So we want to buy something without the competition. We want to ensure that, yeah, it's off market. They haven't tested the waters because they don't know what someone's going to pay. Now, in a market like right now, it's what is it, August 2025, the property market right now in Brisbane, as soon as that property goes to market, there's 20 people at an open house, right? So quite clearly there will be people fighting over it and everyone putting their best foot forward because odds are 19 of, those people are going to miss out, and a lot of those missed out on another property the week earlier. So you're going to have a lot of competition and they're going to pay top dollar. Whereas when it's quiet, sometimes you can jump in off market and get that property super cheap. So that's why we love off market deals. And I think in times like this right now, avoiding that competition is great for us because we don't want to pay that top dollar, and it's a benefit to our client who's buying generally under market value because it's less than what that seller would have received if they did go to market and if they did go to realestate.com or if they did go to auction. So that's why we look for that. Pros and cons. Let's break it down. I believe it's an advantage to buy off market. I've built my whole career on it. I've built my portfolio on it. I've built many other portfolios on it, and we've made the most amount of money as a percentage on entry on off markets versus on markets. So we buy under market value more often than not with the off market deals than we do with on market deals because we're avoiding that competition. So I firmly believe off market deals are the best, but I will hear quite often people say that off-market deals aren't what they're cracked up to be. Now, this can also be true, and I'm going to break it down for you now. So when an agent has off-market deals, there will be some that are there that might not go to market even because, let's say, it's super messy. It's not going to photograph well. It's got a tenant that's obviously very messy. They're hoarding stuff. They've been there for 10 years. The place is a mess. It needs a renovation. That's not going to photograph well. It's going to sell to an investor anyway. The owner might be incredibly tight with money. They might not have the money for marketing. They might not even want to go to market, right? They might just go, listen, I just need to sell it. I need to offload it super quick. And then we'll buy it. And obviously we'll get it at a discounted price based on the fact that it's under rented, it's messy, and it's so on. And we'll then fix that issue. And that would be our reward or our equity gained because we solved a problem. You get paid based on the problems you solve, if you've ever heard that saying, and that's no different in real estate. But sometimes there'll be a nice, neat house, and it's genuinely just a good quality asset. There's nothing wrong with it. It might be worth $700,000, but that seller might go, I want $800,000 or I want $1 million. And that agent's not going to put it on the market because it's not even close to reality. So they might sign the Form 6 so they've got a listing, so they've got something to talk about with people. If it ever comes up and someone's looking for that specific area or that street or that school zone or whatever it may be, they've got a property listed and they're hoping, the agent is hoping, that that vendor might see reality at some point or develop motivation over the course of their contractual obligations with the agent to actually really need to sell. And then that agent can go, okay, well, realistically, the market is a lot lower than $1 million or a lot lower than 800 and the market's really at 700. Let's get it sold. I can get you a 700 offer and then you get it sold. So that's a good example of a property that's on the market, that's technically off market. It's not advertised, but it's a bad deal. So it's not one of those off-market good deals. It's an off-market bad deal. Why? Because the vendor's unrealistic, because the vendor wants too much money. And as an investor, we clearly don't want to pay too much money, right? Well, like I say to them all the time, I sort of say, hey, you want $1 million? Just ask for $2 million, you know what I mean? Sit around, wait around, and by 2050, I'm sure you'll get it. But today, I'm not paying that. I'm looking for the off-market where I can actually get a good deal. So I'm looking for that off-market where someone has refused to pay their advertising for realestate.com. I'm looking for someone that's got an off-market with a couple of issues. I'm looking for someone with an off-market that just needs a quick sale. It's got, whatever reason, it might not be super presentable. It might not be the quintessential 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom, 3-car garage, side access, shed, pool, barbecue area, beautiful family home in an exclusive neighborhood where there's going to be 50 people turn out to come see it. It might just be a shitbox at the back of Ipswich and it's got no appeal and it's falling apart and it's got termites, it's got whatever. We don't know. But the point of it is it's something that we could get at a discount. That's what we're chasing. And if we can solve a problem, like for example, we're buying it at a discount, but it just needs a coat of paint. It just needs flooring, like brand new hybrid flooring. It needs a fresh coat of paint and it might need the garden tidied up because for 30 years, no one's tended to the garden and it's all overgrown at the front of the house and it looks horrible. And that's not presentable, but we can buy it off market for cheap. We can solve the problem, get ourselves, spend $10,000 to $15,000 on it and get ourselves $60K in equity. That's a good off market deal. That's the stuff we look for, right? So there's good and there's bad. You've got to weigh them up. But the best deals, I can tell you right now, regardless of, block out the noise and don't listen to what everyone tells you, off-market deals are the best way to snag a bargain in 2025. And it runs true all the way back to the day I started property. And I think it's always going to be the case because you're avoiding competition. And if you can avoid competition and come in at the right time and put good terms down and snatch it up and be super quick about what you do. Don't waste time. Show the agent that you're serious. Get that lower offer in and you'll always succeed. So I'm a firm believer in off-market deals. They've always proven to be good. You just need to know how to assess which ones are duds versus which ones are actually good and beneficial to you and your strategy and which ones are obviously under market value. Okay, so let's talk about a real deal case study. So we picked up a property in the suburb of Carrum Downs. And for anyone that knows, right now in 2025, Carrum Downs is a super hot market. And we paid $700,000 for that property in Carrum Downs. Now, we bought that off market and the owner's selling and we picked it up for off market. It was off market. It was just a decent, tidy home off market. And we bought it because in a market like Carrum Downs right now, it is super hot. It is on the data set. A lot of agents, buyers agents are buying there and open houses are super busy and there's a lot of competition. We picked this up off market quietly through our network of contacts and we paid $700,000. Now, the next door house, which is very, very similar, just came on the market literally 3 weeks later and sold for $755,000. So $55,000 less in just a space of 3 weeks, buying a good quality off market versus an on market. So obviously the advantage of not dealing with the general public, the advantage of not having to go to an auction or a multiple offer scenario, it was off market. It was just us. We negotiated the terms. We got our client to sign the contract and we bought. It was effortless. This was for a super successful client of ours with 9 properties. And it was effortless, right? And if it was the other way around, that would have gone to market and they would have got more money. But I would have now, as a buyer's agent, paid more for my client. They would have now been paying in the mid 700s and we would have had to go to competition with many, many other buyer's agents and other local buyers. And we might not have gotten the deal anyway because we don't know where we would have ended up. We don't know if the agent would have favored us or favored another buyer's agent that they work with or whatever the case may be. But we definitely secured it. And now in that month since, there's even more growth in that market because it's absolutely booming. So the benefit of the off-market deal through our contacts is probably looking like more closer to $100,000, within a 3-month period of time. So there's a lot of advantage to be gained there, and that is a perfect example of how that off-market works. But look, I also am not a fan of auctions, right? Auctions and on-market. When you go to auction, you're literally competing against others, and if you weren't there, the person that is the underbidder. So let's say you win at auction. There is an underbidder. That underbidder would have been the winning bidder if you weren't there. So you're essentially paying more than the underbidder. So you're paying more than the market because that guy's the market. That's how I see it. Now, in a super busy market, if you've got no way of getting in and it's a boom market and that market's doing 30% per annum, 3+% per month, and it's absolutely crazy and you know it's going to go off, or you have an emotional attachment and you're an owner-occupier buyer, that's all different. There are circumstances when it's okay, but in general, the off market will beat it every time. The thing is, You need to learn how to spot a good off-market from a bad off-market, because there are bad off-markets which are overpriced. There are off-markets where you're being set up. So, for example, there's an off-market where it could be the property could have some major issues, structural termites, it could be sinking. There's a whole bunch of things that could be the case that you're not being told and you're walking right into it. So do your due diligence, know what you're buying, and you'll do well. If you want access to off-market deals and you're looking to scale a property portfolio, we believe it's the best way. And of course, here at Pinnacle Buyers Agents, we can help you do that. Simply get in touch with us and we will be more than happy to chat. We hope you got a lot from this episode. Please make sure you like, subscribe, share it with a friend, and until next time, take care.